flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
There was more drastic things to worry about than basketball at that moment. So I wasn't really too worried about basketball for a while. But I missed the game. I love the game. I miss these guys. I was sick and tired of recovering at the house and not being able to leave and do anything. So, the team did an amazing job keeping me up to date, giving me a chance to watch practice from home, and just making me involved. But I had a lot of recovery to do. And
that, of course, was Karl-Anthony Towns of the Timberwolves. Welcome into Mackie and Judd. If the lineup doesn't look entirely normal and it looks like a bonus scoop date, that's because Phil is out. He'll be back tomorrow. So it's Judd, it's Declan, and it's Mr. Scoop, Darren Doogie Wilson, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, and also Scoop Podcast fame. And Dukes, let's start you with this, because I know that you were, I believe, at that press conference or at that group session that Kat held yesterday. So I believe shortly after that, ESPN broke the story. I think that Kat had been in the hospital with a throat infection. He obviously didn't sound great there. He also didn't look great. What can you tell us about? I don't think it's a situation to panic about, but I do think that it's a definite curveball from what we thought was like the flu or something that kept him home last week when the Wolves conducted their annual media day.
Hi, Judd. Hi, Declan. Judd, I actually wasn't there on Monday, a rare time that I wasn't there, but we did have a presence. If you go to the KSTP website, the sports website, Kat spoke for 9 minutes, 38 seconds. We have the entirety of that on the sports website at kstp.com. So I certainly listened to what he had to say. I'm aware of what's going on. There were inklings last week of something being up, certainly even going back 8 days to media day when he wasn't there, people wondering what the heck was going on. Somebody had alluded to, okay, it's definitely not COVID, but it's certainly something that we are concerned about. And so, heck, I should have probably dug further. I was led to believe he would be back at some point this week. Well, he is back. Yeah, Brian Windhorst had the specifics on a throat issue. Even Kat alluded to that in the middle of that 9.5 minutes he spent with reporters. He said, hey, I apologize. I can't speak any louder than this. So there was a sign there. Okay, something is up with the throat. Now, that being said, Judd, I've already had one NBA contact that I trust a ton, just say, hey, you might want to dig further. Are we sure that's the only thing going on here? Now, I'm not quite sure on that, Judd. He's back now. I don't have any sense that there needs to be this grave concern leading into 2 weeks from tomorrow with the opener against Oklahoma City or soon thereafter. Now, it's unfortunate that really him and Rudy haven't really spent much time together. Even going back to Monday, it's not like Kat is absorbing contact. So it's not like they were on the floor together 5-on-5. So we wonder when that can take place. The Wolves hope that can take place as soon as, this week. Rudy's fine. Rudy isn't playing tonight in Miami because Rudy just came back from Eurobasket. Rudy is ready to play in an NBA game today. There is nothing to worry about with Gobert. But with Kat, you hope that the two can share the court together for some sort of sustained stretch before that opener in 15 days. Now, they're about to head out. Well, they're out for the next 10, 11 days. I mean, there's a stretch where they are in Los Angeles for 4 or 5 days. So there's going to be ample bonding time, ample on the court time. So I wouldn't be all that worried, especially with the way the schedule sets up. We've touched on this, Judd, there can be some hiccups, right? And inevitably there will be some hiccups, but the schedule is so favorable the first few weeks, they will have some time to sort through, those issues. But yeah, certainly interesting that Kat missed that time. His significant other pointed to on Instagram, on her Instagram story, that I had to take Kat to the hospital. He's saying that he couldn't walk for multiple days, which to me is certainly interesting. My tentacles went up on that one. Like, okay, throw, but then you couldn't walk. But now he's fine. I know some people are concerned about how little he weighs, 230 pounds. The idea was for him to drop some weight anyway, drop some of that body fat, making the move to power forward, guarding the perimeter a bit more, being on the perimeter a bit more, not having to bang as much. So that was the plan all along. But I get it. Like, I get the concern. Like, you know, he was shooting yesterday with his shirt off. I mean, he looked darn skinny, right? Like, you're like, whoa, like he needs to add some muscle there, right? But I suppose you'd rather have that than him being too heavy. But I'm just telling you, the plan all along was for him to drop some weight, getting ready to play all these minutes at the 4 position.
What concerns me, and it's the one thing, is this, and I don't know if it's short term, it's fine. What concerns me is he doesn't look good. Like, he looks sort of gaunt to me. Like, when and I guess my question is this: where is his strength at now? And is that fairly easily, Doogie, going to be built up for the opener? Because that's the one thing. Like, this league, you can't be like, oh, I don't feel good, but I'll just play through it. And so that's my primary concern, is how he looked. Because yes, it's one thing to come into camp in great shape. It's another to come into camp, basically having accidentally dropped weight because of illness, and then just to look like you're tired. And he looked tired. So if I have a primary concern without prying too much, that would be my primary concern.
Well, and I think that's a fair concern. Now, on him looking tired, really, that was the most activity he's done
right
in a good 7 to 14 day stretch. So he spoke with us on Monday after at least doing some stuff. Again, no contact, but at least moving around, shooting a lot. Like, that's the most he's done in a while. So I understand him appearing tired. I get that he just didn't look great. I thought at times he forced a smile, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, do I think he'll be 100% A+, absolutely locked in, ready to go on October 19th? No, I don't. But I think the schedule, I'm telling you, Judd, like, you're right. For the most part, you can't play at 75% in this league. I think he might be able to at least help them on the offensive end. Maybe not play 38 minutes, but something like 20-something minutes starting in 15 days, then a slower build-up to hopefully getting back to 100% by hopefully early to mid-November. But yeah, like, I don't foresee him being 100% anytime this month.
Dukes, I was seeing some quotes about Jaden McDaniels at practice, and obviously Austin Rivers just seems like the media darling that everyone's making him out to be.
Love
just
him.
A great quote all the time.
Yeah, you guys need to track him down. I've thought about tracking him down for some sort of podcast. I know his agent relatively well. Trying to go through the Wolves, they might just think, hey, that's a really good idea. Like, let's execute that idea on our own. Dukes, we don't need you for that idea.
That's right.
We'll do that internally. But yeah, like, he is absolutely a media darling.
Yeah, he's a big D2 fan, so that means to tell me that he also believes Julie the Cat was a better goaltender than Goldberg. So I want him on the record. If you get him, Dukes, please ask him if Julie the Cat was the better goaltender over Goldberg, because that is a controversy in the Mighty Duck franchise. But back to the actual hoops, I saw him talking about Jaden McDaniels and just saying how special of a player he is. And I think McDaniels is getting so much more attention after 2 really solid seasons here. And Dukes, he was kind of coming off the bench, starting a little bit last year, but 25 minutes per game. If Cat is maybe not able to play the significant minutes early on as he gets back into conditioning and whatnot, do you think that Jaden McDaniels probably ends up playing maybe more north of 30 minutes per game? What do you think the plan is for him in his 3rd season with the Wolves here?
Well, I think Kyle Anderson plays a lot more minutes at the 4 spot. McDaniels plays the 3, Edwards the 2, Russell the 1, Gobert the 5. I will tell you, Declan, like, you can go back many years. Historically, traditionally, a lot of guys take their biggest leap year 2 to year 3. Let's not forget, Jaden McDaniels was a big-time recruit coming out of high school. And that Washington team his freshman year was a bit of a dumpster fire. Good job by Gerson Rosas recognizing the talent, scooping him up. late in the 20s. I'm still shocked he fell that far just with that body type, with that skill set. Don't know how he lasted that long, but there is a ton to like there. I feel like, too, like I've seen some photos, side by side, him and Cat. Like, I feel like he's as tall as Cat, if not taller. So I know they list him at, 6'10"? I think he's a legit 6'11", 6'11 and a half. With that length, I'd love to see his usage rate jump up, like in terms of just running some plays for him. Instead of, ball moving around, he's stuck in the corner. Okay, launch the three. I'd like to see Finch run some action for him. I don't necessarily see that happening, at least early. But, I think there's a lot there to like. And, Utah wanted him. Heck, Utah's not the only team that's asked about him in trade talks. I mean, his name has come up a lot. Rosas was never going to trade him. Sachin certainly wasn't inclined to move him. And we saw that Tim Connolly wasn't interested in moving him. Now, I was led to believe going back over a year, there would be a deal. Like, to bring in a superstar, there would be a deal where they would part with him. Well, guess what? They brought in a superstar. Maybe not your traditional superstar, but Rudy Gobert is a superstar. Like, I don't think we can debate that. Well, they held on to him. But I love the player, Declan. I am a huge Jaden McDaniels fan. I'll be curious to see what his next contract looks like, just with the usage rate not being maybe what it could be for a player with his skill. But, yeah, I love the guy. By the way, on Gobert, Judd, I don't know if you saw the NBA GM survey came out this morning, NBA.com. Yeah, and so, the Wolves showed up a few different times. Gobert, far and away the best defensive player in the league. Chris Finch got some love for being a really good coach in-game adjustments, which I support. I wholeheartedly agree with that. The Wolves overall, though, tied for 6th in the Western Conference. So whatever stock you want to put into the GM survey, those are legitimately done by, if it's not Connolly, it's, maybe one guy below, but somebody pretty high up in each front office is filling out those surveys. And, yeah, the Wolves were linked to, I think it was Dallas, tied for 6th. I could find it real quick, or maybe Declan, you can find it, NBA.com. But Denver was above them. The Clippers were above them. Golden State was above them. Believe Phoenix was above them. I'm trying to think who else was above them.
Surprising.
Maybe Memphis, and then tied with Dallas for 6th. Well, guess what? If they end up finishing 6th or even 7th and have to go through the play-in again, that will be a disappointing season. For them to have a successful season, it's all about finishing in the top 4, right? And then you have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Duke it out then. Now, if they lose like they did to Memphis, I think a lot of us would say, okay, in the first round, I think a lot of us would say, okay, that's a disappointing season. But I'm just telling you, the stated goal, a little bit on the record, but certainly behind the scenes, is we have the roster to be at least minimum the number 4 seed in the Western Conference.
You don't make the Gobert trade and then say, oh, yeah, first round loss. That's too bad. When you trade those picks, like the amount of assets potentially that they sent to the Jazz there, Dukes, yes, I think anything less than avoiding the play-in game, first of all, and second of all, if you don't get through the first round, it's going to be judged internally, most importantly, by the guys that own this team, or the guys who are going to own this team, I should say, as a disappointment. I think you're exactly right. Like, that's the nice thing here. Yes, the whole thing about, we're plucky and tried hard, I think is going out the door, which I agree with completely.
Definitely going out the door. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily know it has to happen this first year. Surely it has to happen at some point while Gobert is still under contract. You need to get, I think you need to win multiple rounds, really, to justify this trade. I'm not suggesting championship. Sure, of course, you want to win the championship. But to me, you need to make at least one Western Conference Finals appearance to truly justify giving up all those assets. I admire the try, right? Swing for the fences. I'm not anti that. I'm happy for my guy JB in Cleveland that his GM has swung for the fences with Donovan Mitchell. So I'm never anti. But I also understand, trust me, I said it in the moment. I'll say it again. A lot of league people will tell you this. Like, it was a no-brainer for Utah. Right? When Minnesota said, okay, we'll do this, and this, Like
Yes.
Danny Ainge didn't have to hesitate for a second, even though he wanted Jaden McDaniels with that extra first-round pick thrown in, the swapping of picks. Like it was a very, very easy yes in Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting note to Judd and Dukes in that GM surgery, and I found this one really interesting, is which team's level of success this season is the toughest to predict. So the Nets lead with 32%. The Lakers 18%, Grizzlies 14%, but tied for fourth are the Wolves with the Bulls, Pelican, and 76ers. So still some GMs out there trying to figure out, are they above a play-in team, but are they still outside that top four? It is kind of fascinating watching even the wins, the over-under wins of Vegas kind of still staying put at that 47.5, 48.5 range, because people are still trying to maybe seeing a wait-and-see approach with this new Twin Towers approach with the Wolves.
Well, I mean, I would still bet the over. I just think, I'm telling you, go through the first 12 games. Like, they absolutely should win 9 or 10 as they're feeling things out. If it was a tougher beginning of the schedule, I might say, you know what, maybe I pause. Maybe it's right at that number, 48 or 49. But I certainly think they hit 50 or 51. Now, I did a radio show in Sioux Falls yesterday with my buddy Jeff, ESPN Sioux Falls. He's got them at 57 wins, right? And I'm like, no, Jeff, I'm sorry, I love you. But no, I'm not suggesting Jeff, 57 wins.
Slow down, Jeff.
Conference.
I like Jeff. Slow down.
Yeah. I'm not quite going to that extreme. The Western Conference is a bear as much as ever, even though there are some teams punting on the year. OKC, San Antonio, Utah, right? I mean, this 7-2 kid that I think is going to be on ESPNU or ESPN2 this week, he's from France. Rudy Gobert knows him well. His first name is Victor. Like, he's considered the best draft prospect in a while. Now, you know, depending on what you thought of Zion coming out of Duke, right, even Holmgren and Paolo, you know, coming out of Duke Gonzaga. But I'm just saying, you go back a while, you know, and this kid, 7'2", you know, a little bit thicker than Holmgren, but with all those Holmgren skills with the shooting and the ball handling, the length is off the charts. Like, there are teams drooling. Like, there are teams that will give themselves the best possible chance at that number one pick. So they have zero interest in winning this year. But that being said, I mean, like, Sacramento should be better. New Orleans should be better, right? So you start going down the line of teams in the Western Conference. Portland is going to be better, right? The Western Conference is uber tough. Like, it's been trending this way for a couple of years, but I think it's as tough as it's ever been. Declan, if you have that survey there, so who are the teams above them Western Conference-wise? I know the Clippers. I know Golden State. Was it Phoenix? Was it them tied with Dallas, tied for sixth?
Yeah, they were tied with tied with Dallas at 6. So from the top down, it goes Clippers, Golden State at 2, Phoenix at 3, Denver at 4, Memphis at 5, Wolves tied with Dallas at 6.
Well, I mean, the goal should be we find a way to be better than Denver, so we win the division for whatever that's worth. Winning the division is not a big deal, but you want to have a better record than Denver, so that would mean you win the Northwest Division. And Memphis has Jaren Jackson Jr., a really good player, out for at least a couple months. So the hope would be that you can start stockpiling wins here October, November, into early December, that you have a nice cushion between you and Memphis, because when Jackson Jr. comes back, Memphis should really take off.
What is the plan or expectation for Kawhi games played? Because that's like the Clippers, that comes down to me to be that question.
Well,
is Kawhi fine? But I mean, he always finds, or I shouldn't say this. He doesn't always. He often seems to find a way to miss a lot of games, and if that takes place, the Clippers ain't going to be as good as people are predicting right now.
Well, I mean, I'm in the belly of the beast of a high stakes fantasy basketball draft right now. So trust me, I've dug. Although Kawhi just went off the board before my third round pick, I don't think I would have taken him before round 3. But the Clippers have 15 back-to-backs. To me, Judd, he's going to sit out 15 games minimum.
Yep.
Like, maybe he plays one of those sets of back-to-backs, but I don't think he's going to play each of those back-to-backs, right? So, like, to me, it's like right in that ballpark of 14 or 15. Like, to me, max games played for Kawhi this year, like 67. 68. He's not playing 78, 79 games.
Yeah.
Now, Anthony Davis is on the record saying he plans on playing all 82, although he's already on the injury report. Right. So, things change as the year goes on. Like, to me, Steph Curry is going to sit out some of those back-to-backs. Right? Maybe it's the first game of a back-to-back if the second game is on national TV, whatever. Right. The point is, with these back-to-backs, Golden State has 14 or 15. Like, I anticipate Curry's going to sit out a decent amount of those. Maybe not all, but a decent amount where he'll miss one of those games. Right? But those teams still have incredible depth, right? Like, there's a lot of good stuff coming from LA on John Wall right now, right? Can John Wall even be 80% of the player we remember back in the day? Flip Saunders' guy in Washington way back. Maybe not. Yeah, I mean, he's been through some serious stuff, but the buzz so far is pretty darn good. My guy, Amir Coffey, earned a nice contract. He's now a rotation guy for the Clippers, but I mean, they have some guys. I mean, Paul George is still a top 15 player in the world, in my opinion, right? And Kawhi certainly is a top 15 player when he's right. So I still love the Clippers. Like, I think the Clippers have a better roster than the Wolves. Like, I fully expect the Clippers to finish ahead of the Wolves.
Vikings. I do not believe that it is hyperbole, and I do not believe that I am sounding an unnecessary alarm when I say that after what Kevin O'Connell said in his press conference Monday, I have real concern right now as we talk about Lewis Cine's career. Compound fracture, left leg. I am led to believe it's more than that. Like, there's more potential damage there, Dukes. He is certainly not going to return in 2022, and this is the type of thing, and he's young, and hopefully he comes back absolutely fine. So, like, all the best to him. I hope he does great. But this is no ordinary broken, hey, he sort of broke his leg. And I think the Vikings, and I think you heard it and saw it in O'Connell's face when he addressed reporters on Monday. I think there is genuine concern. And he had a preliminary procedure in London on, I think, Sunday night. And he's going to have the surgery on Tuesday. The point being is, don't dismiss this as just, ACL, he'll be back, he'll be fine. I think until we find out more, there is legitimate concern about the career probably and effectiveness down the road of the Vikings' first-round pick. Do you think that's fair?
I think it's probably fair, and I will tell you, well, first off, the second surgery is now done, right? So as we sit here at 10:30 a.m., Tuesday morning, Twin Cities time, it's 4:30 in London. My understanding is the surgery was going to be before 4:30 London time. So that surgery is either just about wrapped up or is done. He may be back here in the Twin Cities before the week is over, if not by, say, Saturday, sometime next week. The plan isn't for him to be in London for a really long time. But sure, compound fracture, I get it. Now, somebody close to Lewis told me on Monday, the early sign is this is not a career ender. Age on his side, as you said, just this should not be it for Lewis. But until we hear how this second surgery, the bigger of the two surgeries, the far bigger of the two surgeries, until we hear how this second surgery went, sure, your concern is plenty fair. The fact that Kevin Seifert, our mutual friend, asked the question to Kevin, and Kevin didn't come out and flat out say, yeah, we fully expect him back in 2023. There's concern right there, right? It would have been easy for Kevin to say, yeah, our medical people fully believe he can make a full recovery, and those words didn't come out of O'Connell's mouth. So just based on that, sure, I understand the concern, right? Compound fracture. I mean, just, right? And you go back and watch the video. It's as gruesome as it gets, right? You have to wonder about the field, right? I mean, I know they've got the special football surface, right? All that, but you can't help but wonder if the field certainly played a role, but who knows? Maybe it was the cleats he was wearing, just the angle he took. I'll be curious to hear from Chris Boyd in the locker room. Chris Boyd was right there, so he probably heard the Lewis scream. Not that I need him to greatly detail what took place, but I hope to track down Chris Boyd at some point this week just to hear his point of view, just being right there as it happened. But I'm just telling you, somebody close to Lewis does believe he'll be able to come back. But yeah, certainly this isn't like Sunday night in the moment on TV. I made the comp to Chad Greenway. Well, this isn't Chad Greenway, right? If I could take back my words, I was more just pointing to guy, first round pick, young, right? And suffers a catastrophic injury. Now, in Chad's case, just an ACL tear, but right on that old, crap Metrodome surface. Chad came back, had a solid career. So I made that comp that, hey, it's not necessarily a death sentence for Lewis. Well, now gathering more information in the last, 36 hours since that TV hit on Sunday night, maybe I should not have used those exact words. If I could switch the verbiage on that, I probably would have been a little bit more careful with how I worded that, because it is possible. But I'm just telling you, somebody close to Lewis who I trust told me the initial sense is he'll be able to resume playing. Now, will he be able to resume playing at any point in 2023? That I don't know, right? I mean, it's very possible if he can play again. This is a 12 to 15-month type recovery. This is not a 9-month recovery. So we may not see him at training camp in the preseason. And at that point, would it make more sense just to be uber cautious and just wipe out the 23 season and hope he comes back in 24? So just super, super, super unfortunate. It was unfortunate he couldn't beat out Josh Metellus for that start when Harrison Smith missed the game against Detroit. It was unfortunate that he missed a few days during training camp, was a bit behind, right? But he was always going to be with that athleticism on special teams. So it's not like on punt return duty, like he was thrown into this position randomly. Like he was always going to be, even if he was starting like a spot start, right? He's
going to play special
like he was
teams.
Going to always be on punt return.
That's
duty.
No one's fault. That's
nobody's fault. Yeah, exactly. That certainly isn't anybody's fault. But I'll continue to track it. I understand that you bring that up. I mean, I completely get it. If people listening, watching right now say, yeah, like I get it. I watched it. I know enough about compound fractures. Like he may never be able to play football again. Yeah, he'll be able to walk again. But in terms of playing the violent game of the National Football League, yeah, maybe it's not in the cards. So I get it. But I'm just telling you, somebody close to Lewis thinks he will play again.
Duke, Za'Darius Smith, he only played, I think, in 25% of snaps. He was limited and missed some time too at practice last week, but still was a pretty effective when he was on the field against the Saints in London. What's the latest on him? Do you feel that they're going to still monitor him a little bit? Is he going to be maybe a full go by the time they play the Bears on Sunday? What's your sense on Za'Darius Smith?
Well, I would hope with that Bears team, even though they have a couple wins, that the Vikings can be up by double digits and maybe rest some guys in the fourth quarter, although it might be inevitable that it'll come down to the final 2 minutes, just the way the last couple weeks have gone, all the games last year, right? But this Bears roster, to me, is the worst assembled roster in the league. Like 1 to 52. I know they have the 2 wins. I get that. But I don't think there is a worse roster in the entire league. But if it's a close game, yeah, I imagine, Declan, that he's going to, because he was able to go, that he's not going to play just 18 to 20 snaps. I forget what the exact snap count was on Sunday, but it was low. It was,
24.
24. Thank you, Judd. Yeah, yep. So I imagine that number climbs steadily, but it may not be 40-something, right? I mean, especially at his age, thinking about November, December, the push for, hopefully a playoff spot, playoff positioning. There's no reason for him to play 50-something snaps or 47 snaps on Sunday. So if I had to bet right now, Declan, he plays more than 24, but he certainly comes out enough.
Dukes, speaking of his partner, so and here at SKOR North, we like to mine. We like to mine for the minutia, the things that might get missed, the things where we're told, no, you don't get it. The guy's playing fine. I want to talk about Danielle Hunter, okay?
Please do. We talked about him on Sunday. I want his hand in the ground.
Because we're now 4 games in, but I'm gonna give you some comparison stats. 4 games in last year, coming off neck surgery. 4 games in last year. He played in 7 before he got hurt again. 4 games last year, 5 sacks, 7 QB hits, okay? So that's in the Zim defensive scheme. So far this year, now he's coming off a second consecutive season-ending injury, but nonetheless, very effective before he got hurt in 2021. 1 sack, and more importantly, what opened my eyes, according to Pro Football Reference, Darren, was 1 quarterback hit in the opener against the Packers, 0 since. I don't know if this is a Danielle issue at all. I don't know if this is him trying to adjust. I don't know if, to your point, this is an Ed Donatel coaching issue where we just assumed that this was going to work and it's not. But with a player who is as impactful as this guy has been throughout the course of his career, including 7 games last year, I don't feel like I hear his name much. He did make the one nice tackle when Dalton tried to get into the end zone. But, and more importantly, 1 quarterback hit and 0 since week 1 is eye-opening when we're talking about Danielle Hunter.
Well, and when talking about the last 2 quarterbacks he's faced.
Yeah.
Jared Goff, it's not like Goff is Jalen Hurts, and Andy Dalton. Plus New Orleans' offensive line, pretty blah. Detroit, serviceable to above serviceable offensive line, in terms of protecting Goff. But yeah, like New Orleans, I mean, come on. I'm telling you, Judd, I like them more. You tell me if it's too small sample size, if I'm jumping the gun, but, I want his hand in the ground. I want him rushing, from that standpoint, not standing up. Now, on occasion in the Zimmer defense, he did stand up. It's not like he's never stood up before. Right. But it was few and far between. And he even had a sack or 2 standing up. But I want that hand in the ground, right? But
Dukes, here's what's weird. And here's what I don't get. So Danielle was a 3rd-round pick, correct?
And he was a 3rd-round pick, yeah.
And he was not a starter. And when when Zimmer said, whoa, this guy has to play, in his rookie year, the Vikings were about to play the Broncos, and Danielle was on the scout team, and he played the role of DeMarcus Ware, standing up. And Zimmer pulled him aside and said, whoa, you're good there. Why? And he said, I'm more comfortable at this point standing up. So that's what I don't get. Like, yes, he developed into a Pro Bowl player, hand in the ground. He was magnificent. But what I don't understand is he was originally sort of given this chance because of what he flashed, I believe, in scout team 3-4 defense. So this just seems weird that I never seem to hear his name now. And I think I heard it once or twice, and that was it on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, it was the nice tackle of Dalton as he was running toward the end zone. If Hunter doesn't make that tackle, Dalton scores. That's a good reminder of the rookie year. Heck, I think Andre Patterson has at least spoken, if not on the record, on background about, hey, Danielle's enough of an athletic freak where, he can stand up. And sure, that's a good reminder of him playing DeMarcus Ware, scout team his rookie year. I just look at the body of work, though, with hand in the ground, how he transformed into such an elite pass rusher, hand in the ground. That's where I come from, looking at, 18, 19, right, when he had the success. But sure, like, I get it. I mean, with that body type, that specimen, it shouldn't matter. Yes. But it just looks like his get-off standing up just isn't the same, right? And I'll admit, far from a trained eye, I get it, but I'm just saying, as somebody who observes, who opines, right? My opinion is I just don't see it. But I'm also willing to acknowledge that through 4 games, it's not enough of a sample size. So let's revisit this conversation midpoint of the season, also at the 75% point of the season. But yeah, through 4, he's been non-existent. And heck, being non-existent, you have to wonder, is there a spot for him in 2023? Right? When looking at his contractual situation, just how that situation plays out, you can't help but wonder, are we starting to see the beginning of the end of Danielle Hunter in purple?
Yeah, I guess. I'm amazed. Like, I thought that this was going to work, and
I thought it would work too. Yeah, I thought it would. Yeah.
And I'm not expecting, 8 sacks 4 games in. But I just go back to, he has a quarterback hit against the Packers, and he hasn't hit the quarterback
there has
since.
To be more pressures, right? There has to be more hits than that. Yeah, we're not expecting, through 4, have 8, 9, 10 sacks. No, I mean, that would be ludicrous. But you need to be in the position, right, to fluster the quarterback. And you said it, like, especially the last 2 games. Really, but even going back to Philly, like, I don't remember hearing his name more than once or twice. That is really, really weird. And I'm led to believe, even with the injuries, right, that he feels really good. right?
You're right.
So,
That's my point.
I don't think it's a physical thing. I really don't, right? So I'll let it play out. But yeah, I mean, I get it, right?
Right.
That's why I wonder about his future.
Start
right?
crying,
Like,
Darren. Start
and
crying.
He might
Don't let it
say,
play
with
out.
his agent, they might say, hey, this 3-4 isn't our thing. We need to get back to a 4-3 defense.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Dex, go ahead.
Final scoop, Stoogs. Anything else in the scoop bag?
Well, I'm looking forward to catching up later today with Coney Durr, the former Gophers cornerback. Want to pick his brain on what the heck took place at Huntington Bank Stadium on Saturday. The Twins. So I was in the clubhouse. I know, Judd. Yeah, I know. I'm
done.
Heard about your rant.
I'm so mad
Monday.
at myself.
I haven't exactly heard it. Yeah, I know. They can still win the West, though. Don't forget that.
Yeah,
the West is weak.
What?
It's as weak as ever. The schedule is as favorable as ever. No Michigan, no Ohio State. You can still win the West. But yeah, me smelling roses, maybe that was delusional after the Michigan State game.
Smelled manure after Saturday.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, let's not forget too. Purdue was down some guys. The Boilermakers were down some guys. So even if you want to point to, of course, Mo Ibrahim makes a big difference. Sure, they could have used Chris Ottman-Bell. Purdue was down 3 or 4 guys. So it's not like Purdue had its full complement, although helped by getting Aiden O'Connell back. But yeah, I'm the Twins. So I was in the clubhouse last Thursday. I can tell you, Arise, like, if this was something that flared up in the last few days, I'd get the skepticism. He's been battling something with the hammy for a few weeks. Now, here's the comeback to this. If tonight mattered, and he may be in the lineup regardless, but
this is what Royce said on his.
Yeah, if last night mattered, if they had to win last night to have a chance to make the playoffs, undoubtedly, 100%, Louis Arise would have been in the lineup. Right? So what's that cutoff where we get it? The hamstring is not 100%, but at what point do you go out there and play? Now, my comeback to all this, guess what? Aaron Judge is getting at bats. Go get hits. The batting title is there for you to take, Aaron Judge. This isn't anything against Louis Arise. You are given opportunities. You're in the batter's box. Go get some hits, right? And if you get enough hits, you will surpass him. You will win the batting title. You will become the first Triple Crown winner in 10 years since Miguel Cabrera in 2012, right? Mm-hmm. So this to me is not, let's rip the crap out of Louis Arise. To me, it's more about Aaron Judge. Go win the title. You have the opportunity. You're getting the at-bats. Go win it. There's nothing against you going to win it. But I'm just telling you, the audience, that Arise's hammy has been bugging him for a bit.
All right. Thanks, Dukes, and we will talk to you again with Phil in tow on Thursday, okay? More scoops.
Okay, sounds good, boys. Look forward to Reckless Speculation Thursday. Have a great Tuesday. See ya.
Indeed. Indeed.